your mobile phones on silent. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and distinguished speaker. I, Dr. Ratnamala, along with my co-host, Dr. Chetagi, would like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of Vishwakarma Institute of Information and Technology, now recognized as VIT Konwa Campus. Welcome to every individual who have joined here for the VishwaCon 2024. This is 7th International Conference on Recent Trends in Engineering and Technology. It is technically sponsored by Curious, Springer Nature, Vigro, MASMA, IESA and the Springer Nature. Thank you for the technical sponsorship. It is indeed a privilege to host 7th International Conference VishwaCon 2024. The VIIT Research Conference along with the IP Conclave is a prestigious event. The IP Conclave is being conducted for intellectual property discussion in the domain of smart engineering innovations, techno-business disruptions, healthcare innovations, and smart rural-agricultural innovations. The conference promotes the knowledge exchange and collaboration through virtual components, making it impactful and inclusive. We are delighted to have such an esteemed gathering today, including industry experts, researchers and academicians from around the world. Together, we'll explore the ideas, foster collaboration and celebrate the innovative work shaping our future. On behalf of organizing committee, we thank you for being here and sharing your valuable time and insight with us. Let us begin this auspicious occasion by paying respect to our nation, honoring its values and sacrifices made. I kindly request everyone to please stand for the national anthem.
A special warm welcome to Chief Guest Mr. Baburaj Iyer, Associate Vice President HCL Tech Pune, Guest of Honor Ms. Deepa Taude, Managing Director Springer Nature, Ms. Neha Trivedi, Keynote Speaker, Publishing Director Springer Nature, Mr. Pritesh Kakkar, Keynote Speaker, Senior Computer Graphics Engineer at Adobe United States. Welcome you all. Your presence adds immense value to this event.
We are equally honored to welcome experts with diverse perspectives for VishwaCon 2024. Dr. Rajesh Jamlekar, VIT Pune, General Chair. Dr. Vivek Deshpande, Director, Technology and Project VIT Pune, General Chair. Dr. Parikshit Mahalle, Dean Research and Development, Program Chair. Dr. Vaishali Patil, Dean Administration, VIT Pune, General Co-Chair. Also, I would like to welcome all respected deans, head of the departments, faculty members, session chairs, participants and all the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you for honoring us with your presence for this event. To invoke the blessings of the divine and begin this event with a positive energy, We shall now proceed and carry out the traditional custom of performing Vandana to Ma Saraswati as a tribute to Goddess of Knowledge and Wisdom. I kindly request all the dignitaries to join us in the lighting of the lamp.
Sir.
Thank you to all our respected dignitaries. Now I request Mr. Baburaj Iyer, Ms. Deepa Taude to please come forward and grace the dais. I also request Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Dr. Vivek Deshpande, Dr. Parikshit Mohalle and Dr. Amar Butsade to kindly come forward and grace the dais.
Thank you for gracing the dais. Now it's the time to formally begin the program with a welcome message from the leaders who have made this event possible. So first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Parikshit Mohalle, Dean Research and Development VIT Pune, Program Chair of VishwaCon 2024 to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Kamala and Chaitali. Very good morning to everyone. Kind attention, we are live on YouTube. Managing Trustee, Consular Ramnath Agarwal Charitable Trust, Sri Bharatji Agarwal. Esteemed Dais, today's Chief Guest, R&D and Engineering Head for Geometric Business Unit at SCL Software Pune, Mr. Baburaj Iyer. Guest of Honor, Ms. Deepa Taude, Managing Director, Springer Nature Pune. Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Director, Vishwakarma Institute of Technology. Dr. Vivek Deshpande, General Chair and Director, Technology and Projects, VIT Pune. Dr. Amar Butsade, Program Chair, VishwaCon 2024. Ms. Neha Trivedi, Publishing Director, Springer Nature, as well as keynote speaker. Mr. Pritesh Thakkar, Senior Computer Graphics Engineer, Adobe USA, as well as keynote speaker. The entire team from Springer Nature, Masma, Vigro, Bhau COEP, AIMS, all dignitaries across nation, those who have joined for IP Conclave, all track chairs and chairs of VishwaCon 2024, heads and deans of VIT and both VIT BYD campus as well as Gono campus, invited guests, organizing committee members, and valued presenters as well as authors. Once again, good morning to all. We are honored to extend. Hello. Yeah, we are honored to extend our warm welcome to the 7th International Conference on Recent Trends in Engineering and Technology inaugural function today. This conference is 17th series, and coincidentally this year we are holding. This conference is 17th series, and this year we are holding 7 different events in this 7th VishwaCon 2024. This conference is having a very unique theme and the theme of this conference is fostering innovation through research. With this meeting with this theme of the conference, we all know that today and tomorrow we have 6 different conclaves and 1 conference which is supported by Curious, part of Springer Nature. The conclaves are Health Conclave, AI Conclave, Energy and Sustainable Development Conclave, Agriculture, Semiconductor and Intellectual Property Rights. So these are 6 conclaves which are going to be held for today. And the structure for every conference is there are 2 keynotes for every conclave, followed by poster or paper presentation and the panel discussion. We started with this 6 conclave today in the morning at 9:30, and we are already done with the part 1 of every conclave at different locations in Pune campus. I am extremely happy to share the success of this conference in the context of number of submissions and the response we have received across the globe. And we really received very overwhelming response, and total submissions to this conference were 400. After rigorous process, thank you very much, after rigorous process of review, finally we shortlisted 90 submissions for the presentations today, and we are done with 40 presentations till date. However, the review process is still ongoing for inclusion in Curious Journal. I am glad to share with you that VIT is the official partner of Curious, which is part of Springer Nature. And again, glad to share with you that VIT is the first in India. And thank you to the team Curious as well as team from Springer Nature, and special thanks to Om Prakash ji. Om Prakash ji is here, who is one who connected us for entire team with Springer Nature, and then later on Neha and Pallavi and Deepa and all. Now we all are connected. Dr. Buduk is here. So thank you once again to the team Springer Nature. All the papers will be published as a journal article. This is very unique part of this Curious platform. Generally we know that whenever some conferences are arranged, the submissions which are reviewed and accepted are published as a conference paper or book chapter. However, the unique part of this Curious platform is every submission will be published as a journal article, and we are also looking for this all submissions will be submitted for possible inclusion in Scopus in the future. And definitely the entire credit goes to Team Curious, as well as there are lots of efforts put in by all our editors and associate editors particularly to carry out a rigorous review process. There are 2 checks particularly in the entire review process. The first check is by our editors and associate editors from VIT part, and then there is another check which is having 52 checkpoints by Curious, and if particular submission is going through in both the checks, then it will be reviewed in 72 hours, and then the decision will be made whether that particular submission is accepted or rejected. So I am very thankful to all editors, associate editors and conclave coordinators for their wonderful job, and I really request all the present over here to give them big round of applause, because this will be only possible with the help of all editors, associate editors as well as conclave coordinators. Many thanks to all sponsors. They have really supported us technically, as well as they also come forward, particularly Springer Nature, Masma, Vigro. They also came forward to motivate our participants with some token of appreciation, which they have extended to all winners as well as participants. So lots of kudos to the entire organizing committee of VishwaCon 2024, and I am thankful to all the stakeholders, and finally I wish you a wonderful day ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Parikshit Mahalle, for briefing us about VishwaCon 2024 and conclaves in detail. It is my pleasure now to welcome Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Director, VIT Pune, General Chair, to address the gathering.
welcome, a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Vishwakarma Institute's Vishwakarma group, the larger group. A very good morning to all of you. Today's guest, Baburaji Iyer, Deepa Madam, then I have written some name, Pritesh Kakkarji, then Yogeraj Dama sir, Neha Trivedi ma'am, and all the other dignitaries, including Buchade sir, Deshpande sir, Vaishali ma'am, Atul Kulkarni, I can see Atul Kulkarni sir, and the young Pallavi, and Khurjekar sir, who is our teacher also, and a very respected dignitary, a very respected professor in the field of education. All the other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. There are online dais also today? There is no online dais. So, on behalf of Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, I mean today the Vishwakarma group, I would like to extend you a very warm welcome once again. And very grateful to you for attending this conference. So, as told by Mahalle sir, this is the 7th year of this conference. And I am very happy, but I would like to share with you some of my thoughts on this occasion. We are basically focused mostly on undergraduate education, and recently you might have heard that VIIT is merged into VIT as per the latest norms of the AICTE, and therefore now our strength is one of the top in the country, one of the highest in the country, with an intake of around 3,660 at undergraduate level in the first year. And we admitted recently in October 4,466 students in the first year. So this makes us one of the largest college, and with the 4 years adding diploma and other quota, our strength on campus in 4 years will become 20,000. So this will be the largest college. But for such an undergraduate teaching institute where the focus, as I told, was on the undergraduate education, it is very important to strengthen the research culture. And therefore the education should not only be based on knowledge but also skills and values. There are certain skills which are very important for the student to imbibe in himself to be successful in this professional world, like creativity, innovation and creativity is among the tops, complex problem solving ability is there, critical thinking is there, judgment and decision making, and so on. So here at VIT, we have focused our education on these top 10 skills required. There are many skills that are important, but these are the top 10 skills. And amongst all the skills, as far as there, you will agree with me that innovation is very important. Very, very important. What makes a person sellable? Sellable may not be an appropriate word, but just to make the point clear, what is sellable in the market today is innovation, because every student passing out has good grades, is passing out, a good degree in computer science and so on. But what differentiates one from the other is the innovation. And therefore, innovation and research becomes a very important asset for an individual. And therefore, we are trying to imbibe that in the students. And research such conferences an opportunity to showcase, to manifest those skills for every student. And therefore, every student or every research conference or every research project, funded project, should aim at strengthening the undergraduate education. And we are doing that. I am very happy that we are doing that. And I would like to extend my congratulations to Dr. Parikshit Mahalle sir for taking initiative in organizing this. And I will request all of you to please give him a big applause. Research, I will speak little philosophy also today, just 2-3 minutes, that this research should not only aim at economic development of the society, because economic development definitely follows individual development, but also to solve, primary aim should be to solve the problems of the suffering humanities. I was with one of the very great businessmen of the Pune city, and he was telling me at one point that there are 4 lakh individuals in Pune city who are not able to get 1 meal per day. It is very difficult for them to find out even their 1 meal per day. And therefore this research not only should aim at economical growth of the society, but also to solve the problems of the suffering humanity. And for that, it is very important that we should inculcate empathy amongst the students. Empathy is a greater level of kindness. Kindness, empathy and compassion are the 3 levels of empathy. And our honorable Vice Chairman, I mentioned it in the other conference also that day, on 18th of October we had, that honorable Chairman, Shri Rajkumarji Agarwal, is a very visionary person. And he had made this purpose of Vishwakarma group that student passing out from VIT should be socially responsible citizens of the country. And in order to make them socially responsible citizens, we should impart not only knowledge but the skills and value. And amongst all those skills, innovation is very important because that will help to solve the problems of the suffering humanity. And in order to have that skill, one must have empathy. And therefore, educationists, academic institutions are talking of empathy. And there should be an element of empathy in all the research conferences. Because empathy is in Hindi or Sanskrit, we translate it as Sahanubhuti. And therefore, unless we have that in us, no great research can happen. Because unless that quality we imbibe in us, that consciousness will not come in us. And therefore, this conference, I will request Mahalle sir that to please include, if it is not included, an element of empathy and innovation and some sessions on that also. So I am very grateful for those who are attending, especially our guest of honors and chief guest, for coming and giving their valuable wisdom to us. They will be sharing their wisdom to us. But all the audience and the delegates who are participating today, because it's very difficult to get great speakers, great resource persons. I'm really grateful to them. But it is equally difficult to get a great audience. Because what makes an assembly is not only the speaker, but the audience also makes a great assembly. And therefore, I congratulate you and express my gratitude to you for attending this session, and happy learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh Jalekar, for briefing about Vishwakarma Institutes and the beautiful philosophy of research which we do follow at our institutes. Your words always motivates us, sir. Moving forward, we would like to honor and appreciate our esteemed dignitaries. It's an honor to have Mr. Baburaj Iyer as the chief guest for today's event. Mr. Baburaj Iyer is an Associate Vice President at HCL Technologies Limited. Sir is R&D and Engineering Head of the Geometric Business Unit at HCL Software, an industry veteran with a diverse experience in manufacturing, product design, product development, and program management. He possesses 30 plus years of international business exposure in multicultural environments, collaborative by nature and specializing in innovative and out-of-box win-win engagement models. Responsible for the P&L, the overall outcome of the unit, he also mentors the upcoming leaders in HCL. Sir is passionate for the conceptualizing and developing software products and implementing solutions for the medical, oil and gas, A&D, high-tech, industrial, automotive industry 4.0, process excellence, change management, AI/ML, and global scalability. Talking about his achievements, few key achievements. He led the team for prestigious Team of the Year award multiple times through series of planned strategic initiatives. Mentored the middle management team to build and sustain growth. He was awarded the Commander Award for turning around the team and controlling attrition. He was instrumental in winning the largest multi-billion-dollar enterprise deal for the campus. So he is leading the team of innovative and patent technology year on the year. I would like to request Dr. Rajesh Jalekar to felicitate our chief guest, Mr. Baburaj Iyer. Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's a privilege to have Ms. Deepa Taude as guest of honor with us. With over 2 decades of experience in IT and strategy development, Deepa has made significant contributions as Managing Director at Springer Nature. Known for her expertise in organizational strategy and leadership, she has been pivotal in driving transformative initiatives and fostering innovation within the publishing industry. Her visionary approach has helped bridge traditional publishing with the digital age, creating new opportunities for both the organization and its partners. Deepa is also a passionate advocate for education, actively mentoring and guiding young professionals towards impactful careers. As a proud mother of two, she exemplifies the balance between professional education and personal fulfillment, inspiring many with her journey. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Vivek Deshpande, Director, Technology and Project, VIT Pune, to felicitate our guest of honor, Ms. Deepa Taude. Thank you, sir. Moving forward, I now request Dr. Vivek Deshpande to felicitate Ms. Neha Trivedi, Publishing Director, Springer Nature. I also request Dr. Vivek Deshpande to felicitate Mr. Pritesh Kakkar, Senior Computer Graphics Engineer at Adobe United States.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek Deshpande. Thank you once again to all the dignitaries for gracing us with your presence and invaluable contributions. Let us get enlightened with the research experience from the expert at Springer Nature. So now I'd like to invite Ms. Deepa Taude to share her experience. Please welcome, ma'am.
Hello everybody and a warm welcome to the 7th edition of VishwaCon 2024, and I really feel very honored to be here. Yes, definitely with the esteemed dignitaries, but also with the enthusiastic audience, as Sir just mentioned. And we started the day with quite interesting discussions. I was part of the panel discussion for sustainability, and the topic was more around cooling for data centers in the age of cloud computing. And the day started with really very heavy discussions around what possibilities and what technology, AI and ML could bring forth on this topic. But we all ended up and concluded in a very philosophical way to say that it's also in our hands, because we are, as billions of population of the world, consumer of this technology, and that is where we also equally play a part in ensuring that we are creating more sustainable environment, we're doing more sustainable business, and our actions are also sustainable moving forward. And I'm really happy that conferences as such, that VIT is not only once or twice but for 7 times has been consistently doing it, are such great forums which allow people both from industry as well as from research, from faculty and academia to come together, engage in a dialogue, create awareness amongst ourselves, and also go back with thoughts and actions. I'm sure we have collated a good list of research topics after the panel discussion, which I'm very positive that faculty and as well as the students would pick these research topics and try to bring about a difference in our societies as well. Again, we started our session with the national anthem, and I'm really very proud to say that in the research academia and when it comes to research output, India today stands as the 3rd largest in terms of research output. So yes, we are number 1 when it comes to population, but we are also being the number 1 when it comes to research, and when it comes to research output and how much of research is happening as well. So I'm really very happy to see that VIT is also on this path and moving from supporting students and more from undergrad courses to being more research centric and actually doing research, doing discoveries. And that is where Springer Nature and of course the association with Curious also rightly comes into place, because we will provide a home for your research, we will provide a home for your discoveries, so that the world can have access to this information and again do more research and discoveries to solve problems. Yes, of course, hunger is still a problem for a country like us. While we are discussing about AI and ML and we have all of these conclaves, but there are real world challenges which we as a country are still struggling, and that is where I feel that we do owe as individuals and as citizens of these country to ensure that we are supporting research and as well as picking up these topics, engaging in dialogue and doing our part to make sure that our country is thriving and is also moving above these challenges which have been solved elsewhere but still are problems which are happening in the backyard. With that, I would also like to talk a little bit more about Springer Nature as well. Of course, we have a channel partnership at VIT, but Springer Nature is one of, or rather I would say, one of the top scientific publishers both in the journal space as well as book publication space as well. In Pune, we have an office in Kharadi, 1,500 colleagues who are located and they work not only for publishing but they also work for technology and a lot of technology projects which are our global platforms. A flagship peer review system for Springer Nature is being developed by our colleagues from our Kharadi location as well. So as an organization, Springer Nature is very much partnering with us and very much interested to sort of help us in this wave of growth which India seems to be having right now, not only in terms of other business areas but also in terms of when it comes to research and the overall research output as well. I would really like to continue this partnership. Of course, this is the start. This conclave, I think, is the start of building that partnership, and where industry and research and academia come together, there's always been really good examples of how that advances discoveries and also helps us really solve real challenges. And I think we should continue such dialogue. Of course, every year on year we would want to support events such like these, but also partnering on projects, partnering on problem solving, and what knowledge and information the industry can bring towards research and academia. I think that is the way forward for us to really go. And with so much of discoveries happening in India, with so much of support from the government also, with so many missions which are happening, which are successful, these have all put us on the map of the world. So the world is listening, the world is very curious. Now it is our chance to see that we continue on this journey and really show cutting edge research, do cutting edge research, and publish. The more we publish, the more the world knows what really is happening, what really is cooking, what experiments we are doing, and that is how we will be able to basically not only grow and sustain this race of being an advanced nation, but we will always be on the top of it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for making me and my team here from Spring and Nature part of this wonderful event.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words and words of appreciation. It will definitely help us to contribute more and more in the research domain. Your support in the form of Sprinter Nature will lead us to achieve our goals definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Dr. Parikshit Mohalli, Dean R&D Program Chair of VishwaCon 2024 to come forward for further felicitations. I request Dr. Parikshit Mohalli to felicitate Ms. Shobha Pandey from John Deere, Pune. Please, ma'am. A big round of applause.
Thank you, madam, for sharing your time and your guidance.
Thank you. Again, I request Dr. Parikshit Mohalli to felicitate Dr. Dattatreya Gavde from KVK Narayangaon. Thank you, sir. Once again, I request Dr. Parikshit Mohalli to felicitate Dr. Saurabh Pathak from Data and Digital Transformation Lead, Accenture.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Parikshit Mohalli. Now I would like to invite Dr. Praveen Futane, Head of Department Information Technology, VIIT Pune, to come forward for further felicitations. I request Dr. Praveen Futane to felicitate Mr. Srinivasan Natarajan, Manager, CFD, Vertiv Energy Private Limited. Again, I request Dr. Praveen Futane to felicitate Mr. Shashikant Wakde, President, MASMA. I request Dr. Praveen Futane to felicitate Mr. Srinivasan Natarajan, Manager, CFD, Vertiv Energy Private Limited. Sir, join us.
Thank you, Dr. Praveen Futane, sir. Moving forward, I request Dr. Amar Bujre, VIIT Pune. He is senior member of IEEE to do the further felicitation. I request Dr. Amar Bujre to felicitate Dr. Suvankar Datta, AI researcher, AIMS Hospital, Delhi.
Great.
Dr. Ramesh Panda, Chief Scientist, Vegru. I think sir is not here.
Thank you, Dr. Amar Bujade. Thank you, all of you. I now invite our chief guest, Mr. Baburaj Iyer, to share his valuable experience with us.
आप आ जाना आप पंडा जी और आप एक ही है
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected dignitaries, faculty, and I think there are a good number of students at the back. Thank you for inviting me and honoring me at this prestigious event. Frankly speaking, I didn't expect this to be this large. So it gave me a little bit of jitters, to say that come up and now talk to this audience, So something which is not that I do regularly for a large audience. Obviously, within my team, Yogi Raj, who is part of my team, will understand, there I could be a beast, but that's a different thing altogether. But talking to an audience like this, yeah, it requires some amount of preparation and guts. So innovation and research, this is something which is pretty close. Innovation is something which we drive in our organization throughout. Everybody wants to do something better. For us, we keep the topic innovation, the word innovation, it sounds nice and same. So keep it very simple. Do something better than what you did yesterday. Keep it very simple. You don't go for fancy stuff. Think a little bit outside of what you're actually doing right now and see how you can better it. So being from the software world, it could be, you're doing something in 5 clicks today. How do you take it to 4 or 3 or 2 or simplify? That itself is innovation. And yeah, the ultimate goal for a software engineer could be, yes, he has a patent of his own. Okay, that could be something which adds value, saying that it is something really good in the field of innovation or research, because it requires, when you have to file a patent, there's going to be a huge amount of research and background work that goes into it. So that's what we push as, we sort of coax everybody, everybody in the unit to get into that level, so that they are able to file their own individual patents, because that is a ultimate recognition in any field that you are working in, whether you are in software, whether you are in industry, to pick up an area and go forward. So innovation from that perspective is a pretty single word, but yes, it's got a lot of in-depth. And with respects to here, when you say Vishwakarma, we have been associated with VIT for now nearly 8 years. It all started with a small MOU for showcasing one of our products, having it part of the syllabus in VIT, and from there it has grown to a good relationship that we have, which continues to grow. We have a good working relationship with respect to various fields of research, latest being AIML, and I should appreciate the faculty over here to building this culture within the students in this organization. I think they have been visionaries here to see what the industry needs, and have been continuously focused to collaborate with various industries. And I'm happy to note, in the status of Dr. Male or Dr. Kulkarni, where they, every other day you have, I visited here, they visited us. I feel very happy to see that, because we have been one of the pioneers of starting this relationship many years ago with Mr. Agarwal and the entire team over there. So it gives a sense of pride. And for me, it has been more like a family, because we have been building this from a very when we were also getting into expanding our horizon with respect to academia, and we were started driving from there, and we continue to expand that through various forms now, from initial having it as part of the curriculum to offering internship, job offers to the students, and now having a working relationship where we are going to file patent, co-patent with VIT. So that's the kind of collaboration that we have today. Now, to talk about how research drives innovation. Now let's possibly break it down into a few steps. Research sounds pretty fancy, and you might think, okay, I'll have to get into depth, and many people have the tendency, and to leave something that they start doing midway in search of something very simple, or say nahi itna mehnat nahi karna. So my advice to the students who are there, you have a good framework over here, a nice base to move up forward, where you have just not one or two disciplines, you have a number of disciplines over here where you can bring out ideas that you have, nurture it along with your professors, your team members, and build it to world class products, technologies, whatever it might be, and use it. I have been following, I did follow a couple of years at the VishwaCon, where you had performed excellently well. And it was really nice to see that you are just not focusing on just building relationship with industry, or just doing something with respects to having the students work in areas of maybe working in industry or building, ensuring that you get placed or things like that, but to see in areas where you have the opportunity to showcase your talents, and especially in national VishwaCon conference, where I think you all finished in the top 3 or something, if I remember correctly. So that is really commendable for the organization. So I have just a couple of things for the entire student community actually, because when they come down to the industry, they have a little bit of give me a second, a little bit of fear. I have seen that oh now how do I gel with the team already there? How do I move into students, or how do I move from the student, the way I was a student, to actually be working as a team member? So I have just a couple of points which I would like you all to just keep in your mind. I know it will not be easy for you to remember all these things, but this is something that we live by as a unit in HCL. This is a few 9-pointer things which we have worked on. Take and own your decisions. Use your common sense. Take initiatives in whatever you do. Don't just leave it to someone to start it for you and take it forward. Take initiative, move forward. Have confidence in yourself. Ensure that whatever you want to do, you have the confidence to take it forward. Don't wait for someone to come and push you from behind to move forward. You have the confidence to many a times. We have seen that people have a lot of ideas, but they fear to come out and talk. Log kya sochenge? What will you think about me? So shed that, keep that inhibitions out, come out, talk about it, have confidence in yourself, speak up. Ask questions. This is very important whether when you are on the path, research, anywhere where you are. Ask questions. It's only questions that will give you answers for anything that you do. If you don't ask questions, it will be assumed that you know what you are working on, and you will not be in a position, and it might lead to a lot of complications later. And yeah, raise hell on dependencies. Please ensure that if you are dependent on anything, you should be raising hell on it. You should be ensuring that you don't wait for someone to come and give it to you, spoon feed you. Raise hell so that you are able to get and complete your work on time. Don't commit what you can't do. Many of us fear or have the inability to say no to anything. So please, you all should know, NO is also a word, and people understand what it means. At times, we keep pushing hard for hundreds of things, and it becomes very difficult to say no, because again, it's like that, oh, how can I say no to somebody? So no is also an answer to things where you feel that you need to have more details, or you are overloaded and things like that. And don't commit what you can't deliver. So it's like corollary to saying no. Don't commit to what you can't deliver, because a lot of other plans will be made with respect to that. Plan your project, think holistically, and the most important thing, respect others' time, each other's time. So it's very important, being punctual, being on time. Many of us at times, say only 5 minutes. What does 5 minutes matter? So if you are talking about a gathering of 100 people, it's 500 minutes where you are wasting everybody's time. And like Deepa mentioned, in a country like ours, where we have the largest population, and there are people who go hungry, and then there have been, and I don't have to give you a philosophical discussion or a philosophical statement on you have had a lot of WhatsApp statements and what does a minute matter to various people. So let's keep these things in mind and work towards improving our society, improving ourselves. It's only when we improve ourselves will we be able to improve society, state, country, world, everything. So I wish you all the best and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer, for guiding us with your enthusiastic words and motivating us to think out of box and lead towards innovations. I now request Dr. Vivek Deshpande to felicitate Dr. Ramesh Panda, Chief Scientist, Vigro, Founder and Managing Director at Vigro Private Limited.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sir.
I also request Dr. Vivek Deshpande to felicitate Mr. Om Prakash Temburne, backbone of curious, Springer nature.
Forward. Forward. Please come. Thanks for your thanks for the thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As the inaugural session comes to conclusion, I invite Dr. Amar Buchade to deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. So, dignitaries on the dais, participants, good afternoon. So, first of all, I am really thankful for giving me opportunity to deliver this vote of thanks for VishwaCon 2024. We are very grateful to Honorable Chief Patron Sri Rajkumar Agarwalji and Patron Honorable Sri Bharat Agarwalji, Managing Trustee, for permitting to organize this 7th edition of VishwaCon 2024 conference. We are very thankful to Dr. Bipin Swale, CEO of Vishwakarma Institutes and VU, Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Director VIT Pune, Dr. Vivek Deshpande, Director VIT Pune, Dr. Vaishali Patil, Dean Administration VIT Pune, Dr. Mahesh Kurlekar, Registrar VIT Pune, Dr. Parikshit Mahalle, Sir, Dean R&D VIT Pune, Deans, HODs, Dr. Atul Kulkarni, Director Corporate Relations VI and VU, Deans, HODs for support and guidance. We are very thankful to our sponsors, Springer Nature, Curious, a part of Springer Nature, MASMA, Vigro, IASA. We are really grateful to Chief Guest, Mr. Baburaj Iyer, Associate Vice President, SCL Technologies, for giving us valuable time. We are really thankful to Guest of Honor, Ms. Deepa Tavde, Managing Director, Springer Nature, Pune. We are really grateful to keynote speakers, Dr. Neha Trivedi, Publishing Director, Springer Nature, India. We are really thankful to Mr. Pritesh Kakkar, Senior Computer Graphics Engineer, Adobe, United States. We are really thankful to our dignitaries from Springer Nature, industry persons, IEEE Execom member, Professor Mandar Khurjekar sir, conclave participants for attending this conference. 7th edition of VishwaCon 2024 features Health Conclave, AI Conclave, Energy and Sustainable Development Conclave, Agricultural Conclave, Semiconductor Conclave, and IP Conclave. We are really thankful to conclave coordinators, associate editors, committee members, session chairs for successful organization of this conference. We are really thankful to all the participants for attending this conference. We are really grateful to all the faculty, staff members who directly and indirectly supporting this conference. Thank you very much. So after this, there will be a keynote speech by Dr. Neha Trivedi Madam and Pritesh Kakkar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amar Buchade. Ladies and gentlemen, as we now come to the conclusion of inaugural ceremony, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the dignitaries, speakers and participants for their valuable contributions, insights and active management through the event. Though the official session has come to an end, the conference isn't over yet. We will kindly request all participants to stay back for further much awaited keynote address, which will begin now.
Thank you all for joining us for inaugural event. Now it's the time to dive into the heart of our technical sessions. Our first keynote speaker, Ms. Neha Trivedi, Publishing Director, Springer Nature, India. Neha Trivedi ma'am is a seasoned publishing leader with a strong focus on open access publishing and scientific content curation. Currently, she is spearheading the launch and growth of series of academic journals under the Curious imprint. Focusing on applied science communities, she is dedicated to creating accessible, cost-effective publishing platforms for researchers globally. With a background as a head of scientific content curation, she has led large teams, streamlined editorial process, and driven initiatives to expand the reach and impact of scientific knowledge. She is passionate about advancing open science. Ms. Neha collaborates with the institutions on foster scalable, equitable publishing solutions that bridge the gap between academia and industry. Please welcome ma'am.
So let's welcome Neha Madam.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. First of all, let me tell you it's an absolute honor to be with all today. Such a thought-provoking session with which we started off our journey. I was there in the panel discussion on sustainability, and some of the ideas and projects which were discussed were very, very thought-provoking. Some of the things that even I learned new today. So all thanks to Dr. Mahalle and VIT for organizing this kind of an event. As researchers, all of you are creators of knowledge, and innovation cannot happen without research. You do that with a process which involves a lot of grit, persistence, sometimes frustration. And we have all been there. As a researcher, we have all been through that process. But today I want to show you how Springer Nature is helping make that journey a little bit more affordable, a little bit more smoother, and giving you a great enjoyable experience. If I move to the next slide, let's start with some of the numbers. We are all researchers and we love numbers. But I can tell you that you won't require any kind of statistical analysis in these numbers. So if we look at Springer Nature, everybody knows Springer Nature, right? Here, anybody who doesn't know Springer Nature? How many of you have actually published in Springer Nature journals? Okay, great. How many of you have published in open access journals? Oh, quite a few, great. Okay, so Springer Nature actually handles close to about 1.8 million submissions. Now, if you just compare it with the population of any country, it's like a Latvia or a North Macedonia, and all the people in that country are submitting all at once. So that's the kind of submissions that we get on a yearly basis, right? And how do we handle that? Can we handle that all alone with just 10,000 or 9,000 plus people? No, we can't. And that's why we have all of you as community, as research community. If you look at the numbers, we have close to about 175,000 academic editors who are helping us in this journey, evaluating these 1.8 million submissions on a yearly basis. In addition to that, we have 1.2 million independent peer reviewers who are actually evaluating your research day in, day out and helping us get the research out there in the world to see. In overall, in Springer Nature, we have close to about 9,000 employees, and I'm proud to say that the largest location outside Europe is in India, in Pune, where we have more than 1,400 plus colleagues sitting here. So if you ever get a chance to visit Kharadi, I would invite you all to be here, visit our office, know more about the publishing process and how we are democratizing the knowledge and making your research accessible to the world out there. Moving on to the next slide, at Springer Nature, we have been evolving how we operate and how do we make sure that we are not just a partner in your research journey, but we are also taking care of the three things, people, planet, as well as publishing at the same time. For the starters, I'm proud to say that 44% of our global leadership are now women, one of them including Deepa and now me. And it has been growing steadily since we had this target of gender representation. So we are not just publishing about diversity and inclusion, we are actually practicing it. And on the planet front, we have reduced our carbon footprint to such a way that 99% of our electricity is now coming from zero carbon sources. We have published over 1 million pieces of research on SDGs, and over half of them are open access. That means it can be read and improved upon by all of you. Moving on to the next slide, let's zoom in a bit and see about what does it all mean for India. Now, for Springer Nature, it has a long-standing partnership in India. Every year, all the researchers like you generate close to about 120 million articles download, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it is also coming from VIT institution. With over 2,000 plus employees across different cities in India, and primarily a majority of them based out of Pune, we have 100 plus early career researchers, and these research ambassadors are helping take our ethos further in terms of how do we democratize knowledge, how can we help early career researchers publish with Springer Nature. And yes, we have partnered with some of the top institutions, one of them being VIT. We have our first channel partnership for Curious Journal series with VIT Pune. In fact, we have a lot of transformative and open access agreements with some of the institutes around India and also around the world. Moving on to the next slide, and the topic for our discussion, which is open access, right? And why does open access really matter for us? Now imagine this, you have done your research, you have spent years on that research, you have missed birthdays, you have missed a lot of meetings, holidays, and finally you have something which feels like, now I have concluded onto my research and I would want to publish it. But it's sitting behind the paywall, right? It's like you have written a masterpiece and you have locked it in the door, under the drawer, and only a few have keys to that drawer. Imagine that's how, behind the paywalls, the research means. Open access changes that. It opens your work to the world. It democratizes knowledge, right? Your work actually can be seen by as many eyes as possible around the world, not just sitting behind the paywall. And it also fosters collaboration, because when your research is read by thousands and millions of researchers around the world, you also get opportunity to collaborate and enhance your research further. Moving on to the next slide, let's take a quick look around open access and how it all started. It started very early in 1991 with a little thing called Archive, which was born, which was mostly a preprint repository for physics. Back then, open access was a new term which people wouldn't have kind of heard about. But fast forward 2023 and 2024, we now have thousands of open access journals, not just with Springer Nature, but with other publishers as well, in each and every discipline. We have gone from early days of self-archiving to now institutions and governments mandating that open access is really needed and is the need of the hour. Can any one of you know, open access we all feel is a term which has been introduced a couple of years ago, but do you know in India when open access discussions really started? Any guesses? Which could be the year when open access really started? Okay. So in India, actually the first discussion which started off was in May 2004, which is very, very close to when the Budapest Initiative happened. So open access is not a new concept in India. We all feel that it's a new concept, but the discussions actually started off way back in 2004, where 2 workshops were organized by MS Swaminathan Research Foundation in Chennai. To me, open access is similar to what the open source softwares did. Linux Open OS, where most of the mobile devices are working on, it's an open source software. So what Linux did, or the open source did to our mobile devices, is what open access is going to do, research publishing is going to do for the entire research, other parts of the world as well. If I go to the next slide, you will actually see that open access is very, very critical. It's not just about papers, it's not just about publishing, but it is making the research, whether it is your data code, whether it is your protocols or your data, everything becomes visible. And one of the positives about open access is also that many people think, and especially in India, many people think that it's not peer reviewed. When you publish in open access, maybe it is of low quality. But that's not the case. Open access research publishing goes through the same set of processes, the same set of peer review, as well as rigorous editorial processes which any other paper would do. So thinking around open access that it's probably not of up to the mark quality or low quality is a misnomer. And I personally believe that when research is open through open access and publishing through open access, trust in science grows. In today's world, misinformation spreads faster than the flu, and that trust is very, very critical. So when you have your research which is open access seen by around the world, you can actually have, you can be more transparent, and you can engage and rely on the work which is being done by others as well. If you move to the next slide, some of the points that you'll see here, at the end of the day, what is in for me as a researcher, right? Publishing open access actually increases visibility of your research. So some of the studies that were conducted, not just by Springer Nature, but with other publishers also, showed that publishing open access actually receives 1.6x times more citations. So your work is getting visible, not just in India, not just in Southeast Asia, but around the world, and hence you get larger citations. There are 4.9x more altmetric attentions than the non-OA articles. And at Springer Nature, our open access articles get 6x more downloads than our non-OA content. So yes, the impact is real. It can really impact you in a very, very positive way, and it's global. So if you all feel, is publishing in open access worthy? Yes, it is definitely worthy. And how about our commitment to open access? If we move on to the next slide, you will see some of the data points here. 44% of the primary research in Springer Nature is published open access. We have 1.4 million open access articles published since the time we began our journey in open access. And we support researchers not just from India but around the world with close to about 3,700 institutions globally through our institutional membership as well as transformative agreements. Today, 68% of our content were published in open access journals, ensuring that there is a broader dissemination of your research around the world. I'm going to quickly take you through some of the open access journals. At Springer Nature, we have 600 plus open access journals. Some of them are listed here in the next few slides. So if you move on to the next slide, we have scientific reports. How many of you have heard around scientific reports, the journal? It's world's largest journal by volume. We have been publishing huge amount of impactful research in scientific reports. So it's the largest journal and it covers right from life sciences to engineering. It is read by, if you move on to the next slide, you have some data points here. It is read by 3.5 million people every month. So you can imagine that if you publish in scientific reports, what kind of citations you're going to get and what kind of visibility your research is going to get. It's a very inclusive journal with very rigorous and transparent processes, editorial processes. And we accept not just positive studies, but we also accept, it's an inclusive journal, so we accept null studies as well as replication studies as well. If we move on to the next slide, we have BMC Journal Series. BMC is a pioneer in open access. It was launched over about 25 years ago. So I'm talking about year 2000 when BMC journals were launched, and they were the pioneers in open access. And their ethos is all around transparency and data sharing, and it continues to lead in the life sciences domain and the health sciences domain. Last but not the least, if we move forward, we have, next slide please. We have a different BMC journal series. So here you can see that in the BMC journals, we have more than 55 journals as of today, covering right from health sciences as well as biomedicine, and an impact factor range of 1 to 4. If we move on to the next slide, we also have a series of journals called as BMC Academic Journals, where we have 250 journals which are affiliated to different scientific and research societies in India and around the world. Moving on to the next slide, we have our new kid on the block, which is Discover Series. This was the imprint which was launched during COVID times in 2020. And the key focus of this imprint is on speed, service, as well as integrity. We have launched close to about 50 plus journals as of today, and I'm happy to tell you that we also have waiver policies in place for all these journals. So I understand that one of the biggest challenges in India publishing open access is APCs, and everywhere I go, the first question is asked about is high cost of APCs. And I understand, being from India and being a researcher myself, that paying such high APCs can be a deterrent to publish in open access. But we have a lot of country tiered pricing. We have a lot of waivers in place to help researchers publish their research in open access. Finally, coming to the last slide, Curious Journals. It's a very, very innovative publishing model, and some of you have probably published or probably submitted your work into Curious Journal Series would understand this innovative model. Some of the USPs when we started working on the model, we looked at the underserved communities in Southeast Asia, in the global South. And if you talk to any researcher, there are three major challenges. One is definitely open access, high APCs. That's the number one barrier when it comes to publishing open access. The second is the turnaround times. On an average, we are talking about 200 plus days or 170 days of turnaround time. And the third comes different user interfaces. You go to one publisher, you have a different type of user interface, how to submit your manuscript, and then you go to a new publisher, and there's a very, very different complex interface there as well. And how we have worked on Curious Series is, we have made sure that we can enhance affordability. So I'm happy to tell you that Curious Journal Series have a very low, so in fact there is no APC, there is no article processing charge, although it's an open access journal. We have editing fee, which is a variable editing fee depending upon whether your paper really requires an editing fee or not. We have variable editing fee as low as 0 to going up to around $200 to $50. So if you really look at it, it's very, very affordable, and hence it is also accessible to majority of the researchers around the world. The second challenge, as I said, was the turnaround time, and we have really made sure to say that, if you publish your research in curious journals, there is a turnaround time of less than 60 days. So within 60 days, you would have your publication ready, your publication out there in the world, which can be shared with the research community. And of course, we have done a lot of changes on the interface. It's a bespoke platform that has been created with a lot of transparency in terms of where the manuscript actually is. Because one of the things that when we discussed with the researchers was also about, we don't know where the manuscript is sitting. 6 months down the line, we have not heard anything. And that's where the change comes in the Curious Journal series, where as an author you can actually see at what stage your manuscript currently is. So these are some of the benefits of Curious. We have a flagship journal which is in the medical sciences space, but I'm also happy to tell you that recently we have launched 3 journals in engineering, computer science, and business and economics. Feel free to go to the website, and if you have more information, my colleagues and I are going to be here and we can help you in submitting. If you're looking at submissions process for a journal, open access journal, Curious can be the one. We are happy to take any questions that you may have further. So that's pretty much it. If I move now to my last slide, which is how Springer Nature is supporting open access publications in India. Springer Nature is actually committed to ensuring that open access remains equitable. In 2022 alone, we have waived 20 million euros in APC publications. So we understand that there are authors out there who have done their research but are not able to publish due to high APCs. And we have waived close to about more than 20 million euros in our APCs. We also support new publishing models, like I said, Curious, which allows high quality submissions to be published almost free of cost if it doesn't require any kind of an editing fee. So what's the takeaway from all of this? And one of the things that I also want to mention here, and not many people are aware of it, is Nature Fund. We have, for the low-income countries and low and middle-income countries, we have something called as Nature Fund. So if your paper is getting published in any of the Nature journals, series journals, then you can actually use the fund from this Nature Fund, which has been set up, and you can actually publish free of cost. You don't need to give any APCs. So utilize all of these innovative ways to make sure that you're publishing open access, because open access, in my view, is no longer a choice, it is a mandate. We all should be looking at it because it really benefits not just you as a researcher in terms of increased citations, but also the society, because you can actually, read it for free, improve upon it, rework on it, and it actually benefits society as a whole. So yeah, so that's all from my end today, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Neha ma'am, for sharing your detailed statistics about Springer Nature and the importance of open access publishing, also briefing us about different journals. I now welcome Mr. Pritesh Kakkar to share his valuable experience. Pritesh Kakkar is a computer graphics engineer with over 15 years of industry experience, excelling in C++, Vulkan, Metal and OpenGL. Specializing in 3D graphics, AR, VR, XR, and physically based rendering. Pritesh has held senior roles at Adobe, Microsoft, and Maxworks, where he led the development of advanced rendering engines and AI-driven simulations. At Adobe, he contributed to substantial performance optimizations in the Substance suite and implemented sophisticated algorithms in Adobe Aero for people and object occlusion, enhancing AR applications with precise occlusion effects. Pritesh is the author of the Modern Vulkan Cookbook, a go-to resource for neural processing and generative AI, frequently exploring these areas in his work. He has presented at numerous industry conferences, sharing insights on topics like volumetric video, AI-driven AR, and the future of interactive technology. Recognized for his contributions to open source, he is an active contributor to the BGFX library, advancing community efforts in 3D graphics. With a versatile skill set spanning Unity, Unreal, and Python, Pritesh remains a prominent leader in computer graphics and interactive AR/VR development. Welcome, sir.
Hello. First of all, thanks for inviting me to the VishwaCon. And thanks for Vijay sir as well as Amar sir for inviting me and everyone else. It's an honor to present here. I'm going to give a talk on navigating a career in computer graphics and vision. The focus here is to provide the details on what are the skill sets that are required for computer graphics, vision, and what are the skills, what are the techniques, what have been the traditional techniques, and what are we getting into in the future of AI, how this space is changing, how the graphics is changing, or how the computer vision is changing. I will also provide details on various industries that these could be used for. But let's begin. Can you move to the next slide? A little bit about myself. Like it was mentioned before, I have 15 plus years of experience, specifically into 3D graphics and computer vision space. I worked previously at Microsoft, before that MathWorks. MathWorks is the company that makes MATLAB. Before that with John Deere, Stryker, and various startups. Stryker is a company that does medical softwares. I did some computer vision algorithm there, as well as computer graphics for rendering CT scans, MR scans, and image segmentations. I'm also an author of a cookbook named Vulkan Cookbook. It's a computer graphics book on programming using GPU API named Vulkan. It's similar to OpenGL, but it's a future of computer graphics. I've also worked on Unreal Engine to create synthetic data, which is used to train AI models for computer vision. For example, if you want to do drone delivery or autonomous vehicle. At MATLAB also I was working closely with a lot of researchers where we were developing computer vision models for training autonomous vehicles, which is something that we expect to see more and more in near future. I've of course worked on ray tracing and rasterization, which are common techniques used in computer graphics for rendering 3D scenes. I have also worked on AR technologies, augmented reality, where you can actually see a virtual world in the real life and see how it's really projected. We will talk more about that. So the agenda here is going to be a little bit of introduction about myself, where I started, where I graduated, very briefly. Then we will go into details about computer graphics and computer vision. The idea here is to get students who are not having a good understanding of these concepts, get a basic understanding. Then I will provide some industry insights into what kind of job roles exist in these areas and where is the industry heading into. We will also talk about some of the essentials for computer graphics, briefly about a couple of techniques called ray tracing and rasterization, which is a common technique used by either gaming or VFX industry. I will probably skip the number 5th section, and then we will go to the number 6th, which is diffusion models in computer graphics. If you have heard about text to image, image to image, or even image to 3D, this is what diffusion model is. For example, DALI or stable diffusion, these are all diffusion models. I will present a little bit about how they work. Only a brief overview, but it would help you understand more details into it. And then we can have a Q&A question and answer session. Feel free to interrupt me if you have any other queries. I'm happy to answer. So I started my career back in 2005. It's been a long journey since I started. That's when I graduated. From 2005 to 2008, I was working at various startups. I was always doing computer graphics, some kind of low-level programming, kernel programming, device drivers, and those kind of things. Then I was from 2008 to 2012, I was working with Stryker. Stryker, like I said, is a medical domain company. I was doing algorithms in space of image processing, image segmentation, computer vision, computer graphics, rendering, MR data, CT data. I was working on the product that are used by surgeons to do the knee replacement, or used by surgeons like neurosurgeons to do like surgery for tumors and stuff like that. So a lot of this is hardware as well as the software working together. Then I was at MATLAB or MathWorks USA from 2013 to 2020. I was working on their engines for synthetic data creation to train AI models, working closely with computer vision teams, though my role was more on the computer graphics side. After that I was with Microsoft, again doing a lot of research work, working with incubation projects. With Adobe, I'm currently working on a lot of 3D software, where these 3D softwares are used by game artists or VFX artists to create 3D models, 3D scenes that are then used by movies. For example, movies made by Pixar, for example, Ice Age, Toy Story, or those kind of movies, or Lord of the Rings by different companies. So these are the kind of movies that use the software to create assets, create effects, and then make it realistic. We will talk more about that. I've also worked in Adobe on various AR and VR products. So I have experience in augmented reality and virtual reality. So let me provide a little bit of brief idea about what is computer graphics in a nutshell. So the idea with the computer graphics is you want to generate images, and you want to be able to synthetically generate images that looks almost similar to what a real image would look. So if I took a camera and took a picture of this world or a particular object, I want to create the same effects but be able to simulate using computer software. And that's the main goal of computer graphics. That's a basic idea of computer graphics. Now computer graphics is a vast field, and its applications are vast. For example, it's used in CAD for different purposes. It's used in gaming for different purposes. It's used in VFX, animation for different purposes. It's used in data visualization as well. I will mostly go through computer graphics in regards of either gaming or VFX. VFX means virtual production studios, where you, like Pixar, Disney, which are making movies, animation movies, or special effects movies, and things like that. In terms of types of computer graphics, we basically have like 2D graphics, where you're pretty much doing things on image. You're like drawing things on image, you're making changes to the images. Like for example, if you want to draw a text on an image, some kind of like want to write my name on a particular image, you have text that is mostly gonna be on 2D space. You are actually talking on the 2D space. Then you have 3D graphics, where you are actually talking about text, and that becomes more complex, because now you are not only looking at only 2 coordinates, you are looking at the 3 coordinates, or you have to play with 3 coordinates, but you also have to figure out depth of the scene, because someone sitting in the back would look different than sitting in the front, for example. And you will have to also worry about, like, if you want to really do very effective rendering and correct rendering, you will have to, or what we call physical based rendering, you will have to make sure that your images have the correct lighting. For example, a tube light right here would have a different light in this section compared to somewhere else. So all of these needs to be reproduced correctly, and that's what we call physical based rendering. And physical based rendering is very important, because that's what gives you immersion. If you just render something with a blue color and you are playing that game, you will just not feel immersive. It has to purely come, like your shadows, your reflection, has to match like the real world, or as closely as possible. Then we have something called, which is like different than 2D or 3D graphics. What we have is like vector graphics or raster graphics. Raster graphics is simply saying, I have this image and I'm putting a color on a pixel. And that's what makes an image. An image is a set of pixels with a separate colors, right? Like every XY coordinate has a different one color. But a vector graphics is a way of describing a system or an image which would be rendered by a third-party software. For example, Adobe's PDF or SVG viewers, they are vector graphics. What you do in vector graphics is you describe the specification. For example, you will describe that I have a line that connects from A point to B point. You give the coordinate, and then you describe how that section that is being described by, let's say, joining of three lines, making a triangle, for example, what color it's being filled with. So all of those are being described. You are not really writing a color anywhere, you are just describing it, and then the job of the SVG viewers or PDF viewers is to render, take that specification, take that language, and turn it into pixel. And you might ask me, why would you need, and for example, and the examples of these software are like, you can design this in Adobe Illustrator, and there are many open source software. While if you are doing like, if you are using Photoshop, you are directly putting pixels on the images. And the reason you will need vector graphics is because once you describe this specification and put this into, let's say, a file, any viewer could be resolution independent. With a pixel space, if you put a certain color and you keep zooming in and in, you will lose the resolution, you will get jagged edges or problems like that. But here, you are creating a specification. So if an renderer, like Adobe Illustrator, SVG Chrome, SVG Viewer, could simply just read the specification at any zoom level and do the right thing, and provide you exactly the correct image and correct level of pixels. At the end of the day, everything we as a human see on a computer screen is pixels. But be able to do that correctly, resolution independent, is the reason why vector graphics exists. Let's move to the next one. So I'm going to have to look back because it's written really small. So the types of applications that are used in computer graphics are for movies, for video games, for animation, for AR, VR, like I explained before, for creating simulation. Simulation is a big use case. Like it's used by to train a lot of, for example, army personals are trained in simulation worlds, how to use some kind of weapons and things like that. It's a big industry. Medical field is another industry, like I said before. It's a combination of computer vision and computer graphics there. And then CAD software. CAD software uses a lot of computer graphics. It's not physically based. In CAD, it's not important to get you the right lighting or right specs, but it's more important to preserve the details, like the correct details of how much the length of certain element in that is, how the surface is being extruded. All of those details need to be preserved. So each of the applications in the computer graphics space have different requirements, and based on those requirements, there would be different sets of slightly different skills that you will require to excel in that. So, like I said, so the primarily you can be falling into, if you are aiming for a career in computer graphics, you could be falling into three kind of high-level skill sets. One of them is graphics engineer like myself, where you are working on game engines, developing game engines, or using game engines to develop games. You are core graphics engineer, you are talking to GPUs, you are using APIs for GPU, you are either working on the driver side of the things and figuring out how to efficiently create low-level resources, low-level code, those kind of things, which is what I kind of do. The other field, which is also very creative and interesting, is being an artist, like a 3D artist. As a 3D artist, it's very important that you understand concepts like color theory, how colors change when the lights come from different directions, how the shadows change, how to use the tools like Blender, how to use tools like Adobe's Substance viewers and Substance setup painting and all those things. So there's a lot of tools like Maya, Houdini, there's a lot of tools that are used by 3D artists. So here's the goal, the 3D artists don't have skills in programming, but they have very good understanding of how the world works, how the physical reality works, and then they also have very good understanding of how these tools can be hacked to implement, or what kind of hacks can be applied to these tools to get as close as possible to physical reality. Then there is a field called technical artists, and these are very far and like very few people are into this domain, but it's a very emerging field, a lot of demand in this. The idea is you are somewhere as a graphics, you started maybe as a graphics programmer, then you were very much interested to, you also have a background in art or creativity, so you were very much, you kind of understood the programming part also a bit, but you were also very creative. So you can basically be doing this, where you can be one who is using programming to create effects. So you are not only dependent on the tool only, you are now able to exploit tools, you are able to create scripts inside the tool, and be able to modify tools as per your needs. That gives you much broader skills, and it's a big growing field and a lot of demand in the industry for this. I'm going to briefly mention, some of the key areas, and we will go a little bit on detail. So I will not go too much into it right now. There is few techniques in computer graphics which are very important. One of them is rasterization. The whole idea is you have 3D models and you are converting into images, and we will figure out. I will show how we can do it. Let's move to the next slide. Then we have ray tracing. In ray tracing or path tracing, which is a common term used for it, you are basically trying to simulate exactly how the light works. So for example, in this real world, if a ray of the light comes from outside the window or a tube light, it first hits this ground, then from that ground it loses some energy because some of the energy is being consumed by the ground, but instead of only, and from there multiple rays comes out, right? And then they hit multiple part of the other side of the room, and from there you can imagine a sphere from where you are getting multiple rays. And some of those rays are ultimately getting projected if I'm taking a picture from a camera or into my eye. And that's how we perceive the world. So this is the common concept in computer graphics, path tracing, where you are trying to exactly mimic what happens in real world closely. It's not as closely because real world is a little bit more sophisticated. The physical real world have quantum properties and a lot of physics. We try to not go in that detail, but we try to simulate as closely as possible. Then we have systems like real-time rendering, which are very important in gaming. The real-time rendering means you want to render something at a certain frames per second. You want to be able to render something at 60 times in 1 minute. And the reason to do that is, 60 times in a second basically. And the reason to do that is because your eyes as a human, we are very good at perceiving if something is moving very slow and is laggy, or if something is very, very fast animation. We have a certain amount of, our brains have developed in a certain amount of manner that we can perceive a certain motion well. And we want to be able to achieve that. Let's move to the next slide. Global illumination is a way of figuring out and making sure that your room is well lit. For example, if I only took this tube light effects on the ground and not any other effects that were coming because of any other indirect things that are happening in the room, then I will not be able to get the correct lighting. Let's move to the next one. Physical-based rendering is, like I said, it's a way of simulating what is happening in physically reality. We are trying as close as possible to being a physically correct simulation of our scene. Let's skip that. Okay, now we are going to talk about a little bit about computer vision. So in computer graphics, we were taking a 3D scene and turning it into an image, basically. Computer vision is literally the opposite of it. We are taking multiple pictures, or maybe one picture, depending upon our needs, and we are turning it back into a reconstruction of how the 3D world or how the real world will look like. And this is very important because a lot of robotics application, a lot of autonomous vehicle application need 3D data. It can't really work on 2D. But the cameras and all of those can only take images in 2D space. Let's move to the next one. Then we have image classification, which is another part of computer vision field, where you want to, let's say, classify an image depending upon whether it's a medical image or you want to moderate content for a social network and things like that. You have libraries like OpenCV, PyTorch, TensorFlow that you want to learn and be becoming good at that. That's something useful. Next slide. You want to be, if you want to, and some of the other areas are like object tracking, object detection, which is again an interesting space to be in because a lot of that is being used by self-driving cars. For example, self-driving cars needs to figure out if the person in the front is moving or things like that. Again, a lot of technologies there is OpenCV, YOLO, which are like computer vision models, deep learning models basically that are commonly used. Let's move to the next one. Image segmentation. Image segmentation is a process where we are basically segmenting an image. Let's say a surgeon is working on a patient where he want to detect the tumor. So instead of he being or the surgeon being able to figure out the exact details and create the boundaries correctly, you can actually use some of the some of the AI deep neural networks that were trained specifically to do this. And then surgeons can basically, be able to do their work faster, be able to do it more correctly, and use some of these ideas. Let's move to the next one. And then the other one is like very much an intersection with computer graphics. Like augmented reality is becoming a big thing in computer graphics. Possibly another 5-7 year Meta is working big into it. We would expect some kind of AR glasses that would look pretty much like what I'm wearing. And in that, a lot of computer vision needs to work correctly. For example, you want to be able to recognize your hand correctly. You want to be able to recognize your hand movement correctly. You want to be able to recognize the real objects in the world correctly so that you will be able to occlude it. For example, if I have a virtual person standing in front of that chair, we want that person to occlude that chair if he is in the front and not occlude if he is in the back. So those kind of things require computer vision skills. Let's move to the next slide. And then you have 3D reconstruction, which is very much required for a lot of, again, AR scene understanding. For example, if you have heard about HoloLens, HoloLens is this AR headset that you can wear, and then it would basically scan your room and know exactly where 3D boundaries are, where your objects are. So those kind of things also, falls into computer vision and boundaries of computer graphics, kind of goes together. And then we have localization. Let's move to the next slide. Then we have localization and mapping. So for example, a lot of robots that automatically figures out how to clean your room or where to move need these kind of concepts called localization. It should know where its position is, where to move. It needs to be able to map the environment. So all of those kind of things is commonly called SLAM. It's very much used in robotics. ROS is a real-time operating system that is used in robotics. Yesterday I talked to a student here that did a great project on robotics using ROS and Gazebo, which is some of these technologies. Then the newer field of AI as it's emerging, specifically the deep neural networks, have now provided where you can give the older images that you might have taken 20 years ago, and it would be able to reconstruct it like it's taken today. It could be able to take that blurry image and be able to reconstruct it into real image as if it was taken in literally with the cameras that we have today. Then we have human pose estimation, which is again very much needed to be able to control. Let's say you want to be able to control a robotic arm that's sitting in US from India, so you will be able to use your human pose, human position and estimate it correctly and be able to send that to a robotic arm so that you can actually control a lot of robotics from different locations. I'm going to skip this and I'm going to skip this as well. I'll skip this as well. Skip this as well. Skip this as well. Thank you. Sorry. I'm going to talk about a little bit some of these applications into various industries. Like I said before, gaming is a big deal. Like a lot of industry and graphics is a big deal in gaming, of course, but computer vision is also becoming very much a thing of today, where you have, let's say, some of these cameras that track your motion, right? Some of these games let you, like there is a game called Dance Play or something, where you can actually, you are actually using your dance moves or something like that, and all of those are being tracked by camera. A webcam is sufficient for that. And that is actually computer vision. So a lot of things are intersecting here, computer graphics and computer vision. AR, VR is getting adopted. VR with metals, a lot of work is being put in AR and VR. A lot of AR, VR is again using a lot of computer graphics and computer vision. Of course, autonomous vehicle is all about computer vision. Without that, nothing in autonomous space would work, but a lot of them is using LiDAR sensors, using cameras, and being able to use that data to figure out where the map is, how the map is. And graphics is also very key to it because you can't always have the real world data. So what you do is you use software like Unreal Engine, Unity, or game engines to produce synthetic data that you can then train on your deep neural networks. And once you have these trained networks, then you get some real world data and then read them better because you need a combination of real world data to do it correctly. Of course, healthcare is another big deal. We have a lot of visualization things that are required in healthcare, a lot of ultrasound visualization, CT scan visualization, MR, a lot of surgeons that the tools when you go to a doctor's office and he's looking at your x-rays or looking at your MR scan and you see the full volumetric view where you are looking at this 3D model is using a lot of computer graphics. So some of the, I will go through this quickly, but I think this would be interesting to some students and I want to cater to that as well. Some of the very key technical concepts, if you want to learn computer graphics, is to understand what shaders are, what textures are, what meshes are, what depth profiles are, and what is the rendering. I will just go for a one line for them. Shaders is basically an independent GPU program. If you have done CUDA or some kind of any GPU programming, it's like saying this independent GPU program runs on this, runs on GPU, and GPUs can do a lot of parallel processing. And computer graphics is all about doing as much parallel processing as possible. Textures are just 2D images. So think about this. You have this globe. You took a big image of Earth map, and then you wrapped around the globe. So anything, an image, when it's getting wrapped on a 3D model, is commonly referred as texture. There are other textures as well. I will not go into detail. Meshes are just your 3D objects. A 3D object, for example, if I want to describe this bottle, this bottle would be described by a set of vertices joined together as a triangle. So in traditional computer graphics is being done, in traditional computer graphics, everything is a triangle at the end of the day. This whole bottle can be described by the set of triangles that are next to each other joined together. And that's what makes, and at the end of the day, at the low level systems, for example, when you are using some of these gaming engines, all of the low level system is just rendering triangles and nothing else. Then we have a depth buffer. I will skip that, but I will encourage students here to read those things, and these are really interesting concepts. Some of the key concepts in computer vision is if you want to extract some features, right? You want to do some kind of convolutions, right? You want to be able to create, like you want to do some kind of OCRs, and for that you can use optical flow, how the motions across different frames are changing. You can find a motion vector. You have, like I said before, localization and mapping, which is very critical for robotics. And then you have point cloud, like you scan the room, and then you created this 3D reconstruction, and point cloud is a very important part of that reconstruction that is required. And you can get point cloud through like sensors like LiDAR. Some of the very important concepts that are emerging in AI, in graphics and vision, which is now kind of intersecting closely with each other, is generative models like or like GANs, which is or diffusion model like DALI and Stable Diffusion, which are used to create images from text or either images, or be able to take a low resolution image and create a high resolution image. Then there are techniques like neural rendering, which can be used to do like create let's say you have this TV which is like a 4K display, but your game engines or gaming does not support 4K, or your engine does not support 4K because it's super inefficient to render at that resolution. It's very expensive, it takes much more time, and you get laggy experience. So what NVIDIA has done is, NVIDIA came up with this techniques called deep learning, deep neural network based super sampling. The idea is you can render your scene at 1K resolution, and then this technique will be able to convert it into a 4K resolution in real time. And by real time I mean it would be able to do in matter of milliseconds, like we are talking about like 2 or 3 milliseconds to take one image and make it 4K image, and it is able to do it in such a manner that it looks exactly like a match to as if you would have rendered at 4K. Of course, there are some gotchas here and there are some flaws to it, so you might need to tweak it. It might not work on everything. It is trained for a certain kind of gaming environment, but for certain kind of open world games, that's what I need to do that is being done. Then you have like style transfer. Let's say you gave an image and you said, there is this dog image that I took, but I want to make it look like a cartoon image from this image. So those are the new effects that's happening. Then there is a very important concept that I will go through a little bit more. It's called neural radiance field, or NURF for short. It's a very emerging field in computer graphics and computer vision. So traditionally, what we have done, like 10 years ago, let's say I want to be able to map my room because I want to be able to show that to my clients on like let's say Zillow, which is basically a like housing.com, right? Which is basically a website where they are showing houses that people can view before they go in. And they want to make it as realistic as possible. So you have these experiences where you can kind of walk in the house by clicking on different areas, and you have this 3D view of the house on that website. The way they do it, or used to do it before, was they have this big drones that would take 1,000, 100,000, 10,000 of images from depending on the size of the room, and then be able to take these images and convert it into 3D reconstruction. So basically it will be able to create a point cloud from that, be able to take each image and be able to then create meshes, which is basically a set of triangles, and be able to then overlap some of those images that were captured on the top. But if you closely notice, sometimes when you are moving through those environments, either you are very constrained to do it at a certain point, or sometimes you will see some kind of holes in some of those environments. The reason that happens is because even with multiple images, some of these traditional techniques which were reconstructing this mesh could not be presented to you in real time. You can't really in real time look and browse and move around it. So they had to optimize a lot of things. They had to make this mesh triangle, instead of a very, very small triangle, they had to make a bigger one. And that image might not, the image that they capture might not have a good resolution. So you might be getting some pixelized image. What NURF is a technology where you exactly do this, get the images and everything. But instead of actually creating a mesh, you are training a deep neural network, which has now understood how to represent this scene in its own latent space. And using that, it's able to get you the quality without having to store all those meshes, all those data. So you are really storing a very compressed form, and because of that compressed form, there are techniques to now render it very efficiently. Let's move to the next slide. Some of the, like I said, some of the future of computer graphics and vision, and specifically in terms of industry, is ray tracing used to be used by VFX, like movies, when people were creating movies like Pixar's create Toy Story or Lords of Rings or stuff like that. Some of these movies requires a lot of special effects, and some of those, each of those single frame that you will see, sometimes will take a long time to render. And that was traditionally done by using ray tracing, because ray tracing was not super efficient, and a lot of GPUs were not made to make it run in real time. But now we have techniques and a lot of investments going on where we are trying to make some of the techniques in ray tracing real time, and they are also getting integrated. So I would say in another 4 or 5 years, or maybe a little bit more on this, we will see a lot of game using this. So you will see a lot of experience that will feel more realistic than what it feels today. You will, sorry. Okay. So we will see a lot of AI-driven content creation, like text to image, image to image, even probably image to 3D, text to 3D, something like that will start happening. We will see a lot of AI experience coming in. We'll see a lot of neural rendering technique like the NURF and all those kind of things that I suggested or showed. Okay, so there's a lot of industry demand for today for computer graphics engineer and computer vision. a lot of these fields have a common intersection in today's world. Computer vision traditionally was a little bit, different than computer graphics, but with the emerging AI and deep neural networks, these fields are having a lot of common intersection. So if you want to learn skills, it would be in the area of rendering and optimization, into 3D modeling, creating textures, and how to use AI to create these models and textures. And then you want to also be able to write code which is cross-platform. For example, it should run on Android, iOS, and other platforms, Windows, and things like that. Like I said before, some of the job roles in computer graphics and computer vision would be like me, graphics engineer. Previously at Microsoft, I was a senior AI engineer, which is more closely doing computer vision. So either it would be computer graphics engineer, or you could be computer vision engineer, or you could be like a 3D modeling, like create 3D assets. You use tools like Blender, Maya, you create environment, like 3D environment. It's a very interesting field that if you are on the creative side of the things, something to look into. Technical artists, like I described before. You could be on the app side of things, where you are not really dealing with the low-level code, but you are creating apps for AR, VR experiences. Some of the industries where one can work on is gaming, movies, simulation, autonomous vehicle systems. A lot of companies that are doing autonomous vehicles these days are hiring computer graphics and computer vision engineers. Right? And a lot of companies do exist in Bangalore. There's another company in Bhopal actually, which is doing very good work. I don't remember the name. I think it's called. I don't remember the name, but I'm happy to share. In CAD, there's a lot of opportunities that CAD is being now combined somehow with VR, so that you can design in CAD, then you can see it in VR. Then you have digital twins, you have NVIDIA Omniverse that provides similar abilities where you can create digital twins, and that can be used to train or showcase some of the usefulness. Okay. I think this is an interesting slide here. I'm not sure if it's quite visible or not. But this is where computer graphics really shines. And the reason it shines is because it uses ray tracing approach, which is very similar to how physical reality behaves basically. So we, as a computer graphics researchers and computer graphics engineers, have figured out how to at least be able to render using ray tracing in a decent amount of time. And not like 60 frames in 1 second, but 1 frame in 1 minute is still decent if you're if you're making a movie like a Pixar or Disney. So for example, when you guys watched Jurassic Park, which was released in 1992, the very first version, creating a movie with a dinosaur is just not possible, right? Like we could not create a real dinosaur and have him move or do all those effects. And it would not be realistic if we would have done, just with some kind of, so all of those require a lot of 3D modeling. So you could see here, the 3D model on the right hand side just looks like a very, like a simple version of 3D model. But once you put it in a real lighting effect, it just looks as if a real dinosaur did exist. So these are some of the things. And then you can use this, there is another scene down there. I think it's a character named Gollum from movie Lords of Rings, where if you can see, if you want to create that character, and I can actually play a scene from Lords of Rings. No, go back. Can we open YouTube and play a scene? Yeah. It's an interesting idea to see this. Yeah. Let's go back. I can describe it, but F5. Might have to go. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, right before that. Okay. So from this second scene where we have this motion capture is another very important thing that used to be very much used in movies. And the reason is you have this character that you want to play, and this is from the movie Lords of the Rings, and you want to create this very realistic character, which is just not possible. His skin is different, he looks different, his ears are paper. Even if you would take like a real human and try to, put all kind of materials on him, it would just not feel that different. It's almost impossible. So these movies don't have only like Toy Story or Ice Age. These are pure animation movies. But some of these movies are not only animation, right? They are combination of real people in real scenes and some combination of animation, right? So for example, Jurassic Park, in that, those jeeps are really working, and then you have captured everything and be able to drop the 3D model in the real video. So you have a lot of video editing going on, with 3D scene going on, a lot of combination of different software that makes it. And in this case of motion capture, the real person, and this is about like I think 10 years ago or something like that, the technology has evolved substantially now. The real person have markers all over his body. And the reason you need markers, so that you can track very accurate motion, and then the 3D model that you have in your computer can exactly do what that person was doing in the real. And but what has happened now with the emerging computer graphics and deep neural networks and a lot of evolution of computer vision, a lot of these markers are no longer required. You can actually use some kind of cameras, which has depth cameras and webcams, which can pretty much just do what these markers. And these markers used to be super expensive. They would break sometime. They would have limit into what kind of area they can cover. So some of these now are not needed. A lot of motion captures are becoming either very smaller in size, or you can just use camera. And what would this mean for industry? It would probably mean in another 4 or 5 years, maybe 10 years down the line, I can predict well, we might see a lot of people who are like doing movie making or film or creative or art side of thing. They would create a team of 4 or 5 people, and they would be able to create realistic movies. They will be able to create movies as good as movies that we see from Pixar today. And we will see the democratization of this movie creation, the animation. So think about in future, you will have YouTube, but you could watch all kind of animation movies for free almost, something like that. There is another few ideas here. For example, if you want to do product design, you want to do CAD, you want to be able to do virtual reality, be able to play games. Some of those, Microsoft HoloLens was a big deal when it came out, but now we have Meta glasses. Some of the new Meta glasses are really looking sleek, and I do expect in another 4 or 5 years we should have some kind of AR glasses. Let's move to the next slide. I'm going to skip this. Okay, so this is another thing in computer graphics. So as a student, if you want to do computer vision, the problem is a lot of computer vision need to do some kind of depth sensation. Only RGBs are not enough. To be able to do some kind of depth sensation, you need specific camera. So if you want to basically be able to do computer vision program, you want to be able to experiment with computer vision, you need a device like this. It's called OP. You can do things like that. You can do hand tracking, you can mount it in the car, you can actually do road tracking and then say, oh, my steering wheel should rotate, something like that. Or you can do a lot of experiments. And this is a good example of what I was showing before. You can actually do a lot of motion tracking now with these devices. You don't need those motion capture software or motion capture markers anymore. And this is a brief, just something I really liked about computer graphics is how computer graphics have evolved over years. In 50s, we have this big computer where you can only demonstrate few curves, few pixels here and there. Then we have some kind of vector displays, and by 1980s we were creating this movie. This is when Pixar was born. Pixar is the company that did a lot of research into the area of computer graphics and animation. Steve Jobs was the person who invested quite a lot into Pixar. Initially Pixar was not doing well, but yeah, Pixar was a driver for a lot of GPU creation. Then in 90s, we came up with these movies like Terminator, Jurassic Park, which of course I assume everyone found out a lot of techniques were found in that. And then in 2000, we had this Cars movie, Cars, and that's another one where a lot of innovation was done. A lot of innovation in early time of computer graphics was driven by Pixar. All of these are, I think, other than maybe Jurassic Park or Terminator, Cars was computer Pixar movie, and a lot of other movies came in. Let's skip this one. Skip this one. Okay. On the high level, like I said before, what we are doing in rasterization is you have an object in a 3D space, and you are trying to ultimately project that on a 2D screen. And on a 2D screen, you can project objects. Each of those objects would have different multiple set of triangles, and then for each triangle, you will go. Okay. You will basically start scanning the lines, each pixel line, and try to basically render each of those points. And depending upon whether you're using textures or interpolation or things like that, you can get different effects. Keep going. I would just skip this as well. Sorry. Let's keep going. Okay. Ray tracing, like I said, we want to get to things like this. Do you see how much different elements are in this scene and how realistic it feels? You have different reflections. You have different, spoons have different reflection, the cup has different reflection. There's a blurriness behind the table, right? So these are all the effects that the normal camera gives you, right? When you take a picture, you can actually select an area and then the certain area is blurred on the background. All of those effects you need to be able to reproduce in computer graphics, and that's what is called photorealistic or PBR or physical based rendering. And that's why ray tracing becomes very important. On the high level, ray tracing is pretty much this. You shoot a ray for each pixel of your image plane. You hit an object, you decide what to do. You shoot multiple rays, of course, but if an object is translucent, then the ray passes through it. But if the object is not translucent, it basically creates a shadow. And some of the rays hits the light source, and that decides whether something is in shadow or not. For example, the pixel on the right side or the black ray or the shadow ray is shadow. The reason we get the shadow there is because one of the opaque objects is being hidden by, the light source is being hidden by that object. It's coming in between of that, and that's why we are getting the shadow. This is a very simple, high-level ray tracing concept. Okay, so these are some of these three slides. What I'm trying to show here is, in the first, the top image and the bottom image, the top image only have direct lighting. What do I mean by direct lighting? In the direct lighting, only the area light on the top, the big light, the big tube light, is shooting the rays all over in the scene, and you are getting the effects. But we don't have any other rays being shoot, we don't shoot any other rays in the first image where the rays hit. That's called indirect lighting. Lighting effects don't only come from the light. Lighting effects also come because when this light falls on the surface, it shoots other light which might get a different color because of the surface property, and then it affects the other part of the scene. This is what is happening in the bottom image, where we are taking into multiple light bounces, basically, which is also commonly called global illumination. Let's skip this. Again, this is a very good example of how rasterized scene, and I would not worry about the technique there, but look at the scene. The ray trace scene looks like absolutely correct, and this is a bit of old image. We have made a lot of more progress on rasterizer side of things, and we can get it very close to ray trace, but it's not exactly going to be all correct, because rasterization in a technique itself is made for computer games, which needs to run and render 60 frames per second at bare minimum, and it will have its own side effects. These are the set of the challenges that a developer like me faces. A lot of graphics API are scattered by different companies. Apple wants to keep their own API. Microsoft wants to keep their own API. That means as a graphics developer, you are dealing with multiple APIs when you are trying to write a cross-platform application. So what you want to do is build an abstraction so that you can talk to one abstraction, like a common thing in computer science, and you don't have to worry about EQ dependency. Thank you. BGUFX is a library that helps you, that gives you that abstraction for free. You can use it to build your animation. Keep going. Let's do this. Okay. Yeah. So now we are at the quite the end of the slide, put the end of the last section. I hope I haven't bored everyone too much. So we are about, we can use the AI in generative model, neural networks and machine learning. And this is an example of diffusion model and where we can use, like I said, text to image and some of those effects. And this is an example of some text I described to produce this image. The idea of the diffusion model is you take a noise and then you train it on multiple set of images and you are able to produce, you are told how to convert a noise to basically image. And then you can tell it text and then text will be able to take some noise from different training from that deep neural network and be able to give you an image. That's how on the high level it works. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to skip this. These are some of the applications of this. You describe a text, you get that photo. And the reason you get it, because all of this has been trained on millions of images. You can create a video, you can change a photo from like some of the, I think that was the last, and then you can also create like, you can convert text to 3D, or you can take multiple images and create 3D objects instead of having to create yourself. Yep, I think that's it. Sorry, it took a little bit longer than I expected.
Thank you, Dr. Pritesh Kakkar. Thank you, sir, for your technical insights about the career in the technologies which are being popular nowadays, like computer graphics, computer vision, augmented reality, virtual reality. Thank you for enriching us with the computer graphics and its applied field thoroughly. It was full of knowledge, sir. Thank you. Going forward, I would like to thank all of you for gracing us for the inaugural event as well as for these technical sessions. With your presence, it's a kind request to all of you to proceed further for the scheduled events as per the guidelines given by the respective coordinators. I request all registered participants to proceed for the lunch. The arrangements are made downstairs at the basement area of the same building, which we call as the parking areas. Thank you.